Hey everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Addiction Unlimited, where we talk about what comes after sobriety and how to build your unlimited life. Listen, this isn't just about sobriety anymore. It's about the patterns underneath. Because if you don't heal the reasons you drank, you'll stay stuck even without the alcohol. Today, we're talking about perfectionism, and you might think about perfectionism as like color-coded planners and high standards, but it's actually about fear, shame, and control. And chances are it's playing a role in your life without you even realizing it. And before you click away thinking that's not me, stick with me, because this is one that affects almost everyone, but hides in plain sight. Now, when I say perfectionism, you might picture somebody with a color-coded closet or someone who rewrites emails 17 times. And sure, that can be perfectionism. But sometimes it looks like overthinking. Sometimes it looks like procrastinating, or it looks like caring so much about getting it right that you don't do it at all. And I'll be honest, I've always understood I'm a perfectionist in certain ways. I've always had high standards. My mom is a total perfectionist, right? The dishwasher had to be loaded just right. The towels had to be folded exactly her way. And she had an impeccable work standard. If my mom did it, it was going to be the absolute best. And I have that. I like things done well. I care deeply about quality. And I want my people, you guys, to have the best experience with me and my work. That stuff is important to me. Now, I've also built enough businesses to understand that things will naturally evolve and grow over time, right? So there is no perfect. I can release a product like my starter kit course, right? I can release that product knowing full well that I will update it as I learn more about how to make it better. It doesn't need to be perfect. So to me, like that doesn't sound like perfectionism, right? It sounds like integrity. But here's what I started noticing in myself, and maybe this is you too. I love to plan. I love to research. I love to create outlines and systems and templates and print 1,000 pages of to-do lists. But when it comes to executing, to actually hitting publish or making it real, I stall. Not because I'm lazy, not because I'm disorganized, but because action is exposure. Once it's real, it can be judged. Once it's live, it can disappoint someone. Once it's out, I can be seen as not good enough. That's perfectionism. Not the kind you brag about, but the kind that binds you. Let me paint you a picture. You've been meaning to start that side project for months, but you haven't started it because you don't have the perfect plan yet. Or you snap at your partner because they loaded the dishwasher quote unquote wrong. Or you're scrolling social media at midnight, unable to sleep, replaying something you said at work 3 days ago. None of that looks like striving for perfection, right? But that's exactly what it is. Here's the truth bomb. Perfectionism isn't about being perfect. It's about control. It's the voice in your head that says, if I can get this exactly right, I'll be safe. If I control every detail, nothing bad will happen. If I never make a mistake, no one can criticize me. Perfectionism is what happens when we try to manage our anxiety by controlling outcomes. It's a protection mechanism. And like most protection mechanisms, it ends up causing the very pain it's trying to prevent. So let's talk more about how perfectionism actually manifests in daily life, because it gets sneaky. It's procrastination, right? You'd think perfectionists would be super productive. Wrong. Many perfectionists are chronic procrastinators because if you never start, you never fail. If the report isn't done, it's not done badly. It's just not done yet. All or nothing thinking. You eat one cookie and think, well, I've already blown it, so you go ahead and eat the whole box. That's me for sure. You miss one workout and abandon the whole routine, right? You make one parenting mistake and decide you're a terrible parent. This is perfectionism. Or invisible standards. You're exhausted trying to meet expectations that no one else even has. You think people are judging you way harder than they actually are. Spoiler alert, most people are too worried about their own stuff to even look at yours and certainly to scrutinize yours. Irritability and control, getting disproportionately upset when things don't go according to plan, micromanaging others, being unable to delegate because they won't do it right, or analysis paralysis, spending hours researching the best option, whether it's a coffee maker or a career move because you're terrified of choosing wrong. Or the secret shame spiral, right? Here's the really insidious part. Behind all of this is shame. Perfectionism runs on the fuel of I'm not good enough. And when we inevitably fall short of our impossible standards, it confirms our worst fear, which drives more perfectionism. It's a vicious cycle. Does any of this sound familiar for you? Because it definitely does for me, for sure. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about self-protection. It's how we try to earn peace. If I do it well enough, I won't get criticized. If it's good enough, they'll love it and I won't feel like a fraud. It's how we delay action in the name of quality. But what we're really avoiding is vulnerability. This is where it gets dangerous, especially in recovery, because now you're sober. You don't have alcohol to quiet the noise in your head. So your old habits, control, research, micromanaging, tweaking, those get loud. And then perfectionism can become your new coping mechanism. It's how we try to avoid feeling anxious, exposed, or unworthy. And that's the real headline here. This is about anxiety. Perfectionism is just another layer of anxiety. It's how we try to control everything so we don't feel anything. Anxiety is the underlying current we have to manage daily to stay sober. It's what drives the overthinking. It's what fuels the people pleasing. It's behind the shame, the fear, the trauma responses. All of it manifests as anxiety. And if you don't learn how to see it and slow it down, you'll either act out, isolate, or spiral because your brain doesn't know the difference between discomfort and danger. It just wants you to feel safe. Perfectionism is your brain's attempt to create that safety by controlling the outcome. But you don't need control. You need structure and clarity and tools to regulate your nervous system so you're not performing for peace. This is why my daily plan exists. You hear me always talking about my daily plan. This is not just to track your sobriety. It's to manage your energy, your thoughts, and your patterns. It's a nervous system tool, not a checklist. You can get it at addictionunlimited.com/plan. It's also in the show notes if you want to grab it. It's super simple, but it is a nervous system tool. So where does this perfectionism come from? Why do we do this to ourselves? It's rooted in fear and shame. Usually it develops in childhood, though not always in the ways you might expect, right? Maybe you grew up in a chaotic environment and learned that if you could just be perfect, good grades, clean room, no trouble, then you could prevent the chaos. Or maybe you felt that love was conditional. You learned that your worth was tied to your achievements or behavior. Sometimes it comes from being praised only for your accomplishments, never just for being yourself. Or, of course, it can come from criticism. Sometimes it comes from trauma, where control became a survival mechanism. But here's what's important to understand. Perfectionism is not the same as healthy striving or having high standards. Healthy striving is self-directed and feels energizing. Perfectionism is fear-driven and feels exhausting. Brené Brown put it perfectly. She said, perfectionism is a self destructive and addictive belief system that fuels the primary thought if I look perfect and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. The problem is it doesn't work, right? We can never control enough to feel safe. We can never be perfect enough to avoid criticism. We can never manage every outcome to prevent pain. And here's what perfectionism steals from you. Your peace, because you're always working, always behind, and never done. You guys, that is the story of my life right there. It steals your progress because you're stuck in planning instead of producing. It steals your presence because you're constantly focused on how it could be better. So you're never present in the moment. And your confidence because you never let yourself win. You just move the finish line. And you didn't get sober to feel stuck. You didn't do all that work just to be paralyzed by your to-do list. Let me hit pause for a second because I don't recommend things unless I use them myself. And listen, Cozy Earth has officially taken over my house. If you're like me and you're already on the hunt for meaningful gifts, not just more stuff, then Cozy Earth is your answer. Their bamboo pajama set is hands down the softest thing I've ever put on. Lightweight, breathable, super cute. It's the perfect gift for your partner, your mom, or honestly, even yourself. And don't forget, Cozy Earth has men's stuff too. I feel like we don't talk about this enough. But don't forget the men in your life, or men, if you're looking for something for your mom, your wife, your daughter, don't forget to grab something for yourself too. There are great men's items on Cozy Earth. And don't even get me started on the bubble cuddle blanket. This thing is unbelievable. Every person who comes to my house ends up under this blanket. So here's the deal. Cozy Earth is doing early Black Friday, and my code Angela stacks right on top of their site-wide sale. That means up to 40% off right now. So if you want to wrap the people you love or yourself in some serious luxury this year, go to cozyearth.com, use code Angela, and start checking them off your holiday list. All right. So how do we release this? How do we stop sabotaging our own peace? You're not stuck because you're lazy. You're stuck because your brain is trying to keep you safe. This was a major light bulb moment for me in this episode because if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you've probably heard me call myself lazy 1,000 times. And there's truth in that. My default mode is pretty lazy. But now, this many years into my sobriety, I'm not so lazy anymore. I'm a very high achiever. That wasn't always the case, but it is who I am now. And I would wonder how I could all of a sudden get so lazy and not follow through on things that feel so simple and things I've done 1,000 times. And when I was researching this episode, it all started to make sense, right? I'm not lazy. I'm scared. I'm scared to be seen. I'm at a stage in my life where I feel very vulnerable to my core. And that makes me want to hide and protect myself. So instead of filming videos for social media, I'll fall apart and lay on the couch and watch TV all day, internally beating myself up for fucking everything up. Right? In fact, that's what I did all day yesterday. That was my whole day. And I had no idea that was my fear and vulnerability protecting me as perfectionism. It's so crazy, these damn brains of ours. So if we want to start unraveling all of this, first we have to see it, right? Notice when perfectionism is running the show. Notice the thoughts. This has to be perfect. What will people think? I can't make a mistake. And accept that perfectionism is there. Don't shame yourself for being a perfectionist. That's just more perfectionism. Instead, get curious, oh, there's that voice again. What am I afraid of now? Or, for me in my head, that would sound very different. For me in my head, that would be like, you MRFer, why are you talking shit to me again? What is going on? Right. But you have to notice it and get curious, like, okay, what's really happening under the surface? What am I feeling? Why do I want to avoid it? Right. Acceptance means acknowledging that we're human. We are imperfect. And that's not only okay, it's the point. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be real. And then we have to surrender the illusion of control. This is hard but necessary. We have to accept that we cannot control outcomes. We can control our effort, our attitude, our values, but we cannot control results. And we definitely can't control what other people do or think. Perfectionism is like playing God. It's trying to manage the unmanageable. The freedom comes when we surrender that burden and accept that uncertainty is a part of life. This is where faith comes in for many people, right? Faith in something larger than ourselves, whether that's God, the universe, or simply the process of life unfolding. We do our best and let go of the rest. Also, practice good enough. Start intentionally doing things at a good enough level instead of perfect. Send the email with a typo. Leave the dishes for tomorrow. Post the thing even though it's not super polished and perfect, right? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think I can send an email with a typo or a text. Like that is very unnerving to me. And now that autocorrect fucks everything up, I'm getting better at that because you do have to let it go. Like autocorrect has its own mind. It's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. So some of that I have been able to let go, but that made me anxious. Just saying that, send the email with a typo, like that made me anxious. But it's a good example. I hope you're better at it than I am. This will feel uncomfortable. And that's the point, right? You're retraining your nervous system to understand that imperfection is not dangerous. Or set a timer for tasks that you tend to over perfect. When the timer goes off, you're done. It forces you to prioritize and let go of diminishing returns. And build some structure, but not too rigid, right? Here's the paradox. Recovering from perfectionism doesn't mean becoming chaotic or sloppy. It means building sustainable structure instead of rigid control. Structure says, I'll work on this project for 2 focused hours, then I'm done for the day. Perfectionism says, I'll work on this until it's absolutely perfect, even if it takes all night and I'm miserable. Structure creates freedom. Rigidity creates prison. And challenge the shame. Remember, perfectionism runs on shame fuel. So we have to talk back to it. When that voice says you're not good enough, we respond with truth. I'm enough exactly as I am. My worth isn't based on my performance. When it says people will judge you, respond with some might. Who the fuck cares? That's their business, right? It's really none of my business what anybody else thinks. Your thoughts are your business. It's none of my business. And I can't control what others think. And this isn't about positive thinking or affirmations that feel fake. It's about telling yourself the truth until you believe it. And embrace vulnerability. Perfectionism is armor. Vulnerability is courage. This is a huge lesson for me in my life right now. Share the messy middle, not just the polished end result. Let people see you struggle. Ask for help. Admit mistakes without spiraling into shame. Perfectionism tells us that if we're vulnerable, we'll be rejected. But the opposite is actually true. Vulnerability creates connection. It gives others permission to be human too. And look, I'm not going to tell you that this is easy. Breaking up with perfectionism is like breaking any addiction. It takes time, it takes practice, and it takes support. But here's what I know. On the other side of perfectionism is peace, real peace, the kind where you can rest without earning it, where you can enjoy the process without obsessing over the outcome, where you can be yourself without apologizing. Your worth is not tied to your productivity. Your value is not determined by your achievements. You are enough right now, exactly as you are, flaws and all. So this week, I want to challenge you. Find one area where you're being a perfectionist and intentionally practice good enough. Notice what comes up. Notice the fear, the resistance, the urge to control. And then just for today, let it go. I hope this resonated with you because when I was researching this episode, it was a game changer for me. Like I felt so many pieces kind of falling into place and starting to make sense. And that's why I love being a coach, right? Because it keeps me on top of my game too. Talking about these things and continuing to learn is a lifelong journey. And working on ourselves and growing and evolving is a lifelong journey. Recovery is a lifelong journey because we continue to live life. We continue to have experiences. We continue to experience pain and disappointment and fear. All those things are a lifelong journey. So healing and recovery is also a lifelong journey. But man, it's beautiful and it's so much fun, especially when you have people to do it with. So if this did resonate with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And remember, this is why we say progress, not perfection. And if you want support and you're ready to make real deep transformation and really get your shit together, you are welcome to book a free call with me to talk about us working together. There are probably more options than you think, and you can do that at addictionunlimited.com/call. That link is always in the show notes as well, addictionunlimited.com/call. And don't forget this Friday, a bonus drop from the Unlimited Live Starter Series, the 10 most powerful episodes to rebuild your rhythm, structure, and emotional peace. I'm getting great feedback for these episodes on Fridays, and I'm really enjoying doing a bonus episode every week. So thank you for hanging out with me and spending time with me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.